Hi there guys, Octavian here. Welcome to episode number 49 of my series 100 Casts. This is a replay sent in to me by the Lee Sin over on Purple Team. His name is Kraim. That is too many vowels for me to appropriately pronounce all at once. Please, sir, remove a few of the vowels from the middle of your name so that I may actually know how to say it. But anyways, we'll be moving on to the gameplay here. We have the hairy dude wandering around in the river, forcing away that Leona. Don't want the Leona in the jungle. And you know what's really interesting in this game? Going into some of the matchups here, we have a Nautilus in the lane, specifically in the top lane. He's going to be going up against Rengar up there. Rengar is a throwback. He's usually in the jungle now, but he was in the top lane for quite a bit of his career. He's gone through a lot of different changes. Rengar has, the kitty cat, has done almost as much evolving as Kha'Zix, his nemesis. But, small and stupid jokes aside, we do have Nautilus in the top lane facing off against him, so it'll be interesting to see what he builds, whether he goes full tank, full AP, some sort of mixture of the two, some sort of hellish concoction. Well, we'll get to see how that unfolds, I suppose. Lee Sin going to be starting at his blue buff, while the Amumu on the other side starts at his red, or rather his blue as well. That's not very surprising. Amumu is a very mana-hungry jungler. Going the red buff first would have been a little bit odd, though not entirely odd, since it would have meant that he could have had the help of his bot lane and gotten out of that first buff a little bit healthier, because it would have meant more of a valuable leash. But we do have a few other lanes to get into, not just the top lane and the jungle here. We also have the middle lane, which is going to be a Yasuo versus a Kassadin. I'm really actually not too sure where to put that one. Obviously, Kassadin's magic damage shield not going to be all that great here facing off against a Yasuo. He does a tiny little bit of magic damage when he dashes through you, but other than that, it's pretty much all physical, because that's how swords work. Currently dashing deals magic damage though, as now Ragnarok is actually getting taken fairly low in a trade against that Yasuo, so I guess we're seeing how that lane is working out already, and it seems to be going in favor of the Yasuo, who does have a formidable CS lead, or at least to the point in the game where we are, as well as a good lead in terms of hit points. There's the hook flying out from Thresh, but it does go wide. Flay, however, does connect onto the Kenny, and he's getting brought down to half health. Hairy dude takes half of his health in return, but so did Varus, and leaving Lucian the only one who still has all of his hit points. So that is still a favorable position for Purple King down in the bottom lane, as we see Colombian Viking dashing back in again. I do believe there were never actually any Vikings in Colombia, but the guy can dream, can't he? They're going to be pushing up the bottom lane. Middle lane's pushing up as well, as is top. Nautilus doing actually a decent job of laning against this Rengar as well. I haven't seen a Nautilus lane pretty much ever, and he's doing a lot of damage. That early damage from the Nautilus is surprising, as Deserve gets a little bit more than perhaps he deserves. Goes down very low. That's a pretty great name for the Rengar in the top lane. Deserve. There's going to be a lot of ways that I can use that to make really terribly unfunny jokes throughout this game. You guys know how much I love them unfunny jokes. They're the best kind of joke. Pushing up the minions, onto the turret. That is one thing that Nautilus does not really do very well at. Kenny going in after getting hooked. The shield is going to keep him fairly good on hit points, and First Blood going to be going over to Varus, piercing arrow, popping that grenade that was circling around the Thresh and giving him that percentage health damage, as well as just the flat damage from that piercing arrow. Well, not really maxing it first and blown 4, so 2 points into piercing arrow. And meanwhile, up in top lane, we have Deserve and Zoko going at it again. Nautilus and the Rengar. Nautilus actually getting the better of the trade. Still, he's got a lot of persistent damage if Rengar can't burst his shield very quickly, so Deserve, though, still wanting this fight. He goes in, and the Nautilus wins, dies just at the very end to an auto attack as well. And that is the closest you can possibly come in a 1v1 fight. I do believe that the final auto attack animation from Rengar somehow persisted through his death and got him the kill post-mortem, literally with his last right click. There goes the tornado flying a little wide on Ragnarok, and we get to see some of the item builds coming out here. It looks like that's actually probably building towards a catalyst there for the Nautilus. He's got a red and a blue crystal in his inventory, as Thresh is looking to try and make an engage happen. Very nice flay energy numbers the enemy team down in the bottom lane. The hook going to be flying out fairly soon. Actually, no, it doesn't come out at all. The ignite is ticking, though, and that is Thresh going to be picking up the revenge kill back onto Leona. Krayim in the middle lane, picking up some XP, while Yasuo heads on back to base. Not pushing it out or anything, just taking them last hits and that delicious XP. For playing jungle, I always love when one of my laners goes back to base. I also kind of like it when they die sometimes, because it means I get minions, but I shouldn't like it when my allies die. That's just mean-spirited. Leaping out of the bush comes Deserve. However, he did not realize that this Nautilus can trade blow for blow with him, and they do exactly that, going down fairly low, both of them. And I really like the little visual indicator now for Nautilus's passive. It's very, very helpful in determining when exactly you should be autoing what. Deserve getting slowed up by the E, and now he's getting chased down. The hook gonna land, doing a good amount of damage. Meanwhile, down in bottom lane, snipe across the minion wave stops Varus from heading on back to base. He'll just back up a little bit more and press that blue pill button again. Now we're back up in top lane where Deserve is going in on this again. However, Lee Sin is in the bush, and he didn't realize that this gank was being perfectly set up, forced to flash away as Krayim comes in from the jungle. That name is causing me so many problems. Some of them I'm kind of making myself, if I'm perfectly honest. I kind of enjoy it. There's the ult coming from Nautilus before Deserves has his level 6. Flash forward to get a bit more damage onto him. The Q lands. Lee Sin going to be going under the tower, and he has the damage. He gets the kill. Shields out to his friendly Nautilus, blocking a tower shot and getting home safely. Little bit of a sloppy gank, to be perfectly honest. Nautilus used his ult a little bit early there. It wasn't entirely necessary. He was kind of next to Rengar already. Should have probably waited to use depth charge until Rengar had created some distance so that he could then again close that distance without having to burn his flash. But they do manage to pull it off. Messiness aside, the gold still comes, whether or not it was messy. Colombian Viking dashing in. He has the knock-up available. Ignite is dropped as well. He tosses it out, but he doesn't quite land it because Kassadin is a slippery fellow. Manages to rift walk away before the knock-up can put him in his place. Down in bottom lane again. There's the hook flying a little bit wide on the floating frog. I mean, just a little bit. That thing nearly connected as Kenny maybe taking advantage of that to come in, lay some good harass down, but Thresh turns around, flaying them back in. Floating frog now going down very low. And some of the names in this game are just pretty great. Yeah, I've been envisioning a floating Varus-like frog now. I don't even know what that would be. I apologize. That is a very strange image. I'm sorry for having put that into your head. But hey, maybe you should just blame this Varus. As Amumu is coming around for a gank through the bush, we're going to make something happen here. There's the first and sad moment immediately, stopping Colombian Viking from trying to escape. The Ignite is dropped as well. They just need a little bit more damage. Flash forward from the Kassadin to provide that little bit more damage. And Yasuo goes down. Giving a kill over to Kassadin in the middle lane here. Swinging it, sort of, well actually, fully in his favor. The CS is entirely even here, which is a good mark for Ragnarok, actually. He's been pushed under his tower for the majority of this game. Yasuo's been doing a very good job of keeping him back there. And the fact that he's actually currently ahead on CS is a good showing for him. That means that he's been doing his job as Kassadin fairly well, which is surviving laning phase and then becoming a slippery and annoying monstrosity later on. As Deserve, don't just ignore him. Turn and fight or run away, but you can't just ignore the Nautilus. He's a bit too big for that, and he's decided to turn and fight. He's getting snared up by the Nautilus passive. There's the depth charge chasing him under the tower, but Nautilus doesn't want to chase with it. Turns around, as we see down in bottom lane. Solar Flare coming out to try and peel for Floating Frog. Q lands under the minion. Going in is Cream right now. Turn around from Floating Frog to toss out the ulti, and there are so many ults. Burned the kick doesn't hit because Kenny still had his flash, and he flashes away. And I do believe every major cooldown was burned from blue team in the bottom lane there, but they managed to escape, and actually not every single one. The heal and the exhaust are both still up, but that's still a lot burned just to escape, as Deserve is having a hell of a time up in the top lane. Losing to the AP Bruiser Nautilus top. I'm still not entirely sure where this is going. He's obviously going to a Rod of Ages now. He does have the Catalyst, and that no longer builds into anything but Rod of Ages. So that is the direction that he's going so far, but as for the rest of his inventory slots, we're going to have to wait and see where those are going to go. But we can look at some of the other inventory slots in this game, as the knockup barely misses onto Ragnarok. He's deciding to go in after it as well, realizing that he has the upper hand without that knockup on the side of Yasuo. Trades fairly well with him. As Thresh returns to the bottom lane from a warding adventure. Good ward coverage on the bottom lane, actually, for both teams here, but it didn't spot out Mr. Trollmaster. He's sitting in the bush, as Amumu waiting to come out with a bandage toss, and Thresh is actually going to walk right up next to him. Harry Dude is in a lot of trouble here. He's going to be going down fairly soon if they just turn and focus onto him. Kenny is going to be ignited and burned down. They went a little bit too hard onto the Lucian trying to chase him when perhaps that wasn't the best idea. They had Thresh caught dead to rights, but they really wanted to bring down the Lucian Ragnarok. Ooh, he gets hit by the very edge of the tornado, but it's not going to be enough to bring him down. That rank 1 last breath is not providing enough damage here for Colombian Viking. The Q does land though, and he's ticking from Ignite. He's gonna fall over, and Lee Sin coming around the corner. Sonic Wave securing the kill onto Rengar. He was helping. That was a very helpful Lee Sin coming around the corner right there. We're back down in bottom lane. We've got low health bars on both AD carries, but nobody else is around. Perhaps we will see a duel. I would very much like to see that, though I do believe that Varus would most likely win it, so it doesn't really surprise me that Sirius is not in the same boat as me in desiring to see that duel. Bolas stop Nautilus from heading on back to base. He's a little bit annoyed at that, though. Throws an anchor at Deserve. This is what Nautilus does when he is annoyed. He throws anchors at you. He's not one to get on the wrong side of, but Deserve throws bolas at you, and he's snared up Urzako, but Lee Sin is here, and the depth charge is turning back around. The Q does not land on anything else, so Lee Sin is forced to safeguard into the Nautilus to try and create some distance, and he has no more gap closers, so Rengar is going to be safe. Meanwhile, we swap back down to the bottom lane where Thresh has returned, as has Leona, but as has Mr. Trollmaster and Cassidon. Blue team really trying to make something happen here. Meanwhile, up in top lane, Deserve going to be leaping out of the bush after leaping into the bush. There's the snare landing onto a minion. That is depressing for this Rengar. He's going back into the bush, but the Q does land anyways. And Karim is going to be following this up. Deserve flashes in onto the Nautilus. Really wanted to try and finish that off, but didn't quite have the time to do so before Lee Sin got him down. And Ragnarok is having some internet issues, it seems, but he will be back with us very shortly. In fact, he did just reconnect, so hopefully that won't be striking too often. Oh, but there's a ward in that bush, foiling all the plans of blue team, which has been so carefully laid for so long. The bandage toss hits at max range. Mr. Trollmaster really going for this. There's the ulti from Leona holding them up on the towers. Now the Harry Dude is going to be going down very swiftly. He does manage to take Cassidon with him, but Cassidon gets the post-mortem kill onto Thresh. I believe that was the Ignite burning him down. Cassidon, yes, he does have Ignite, and it was just recently used, so one can deduce as Colombian Viking tosses out the very nice wind wall to block out the damage from the floating frog, and that is maybe going to save his life. He's still got quite a bit of trouble next to him, and he dashes in onto the Varus, and he brings him down as now the Kenny is stunning him up as Trollmaster's trying to bring him down and succeeding in bringing him down. Yasuo going to fall over. And it is now 9-7 in kills, 9 being on the side of purple, and that means that the 7 is on the side of blue because that is how it works when there's only 2 teams. Purple team has a tower to their name as well as a small gold lead of about 1,000, and they're looking to extend it. Up in the top lane, Deserve's getting hooked in, he's getting kicked back, he's getting taken down. Nautilus, his dot's going to finish that off to the side, and he did indeed go with the Rod of Ages. He has that stacking up in his inventory already, and this has been a very rough game up in the top lane for Deserve. I don't know that he really deserves this. How many times can I make that joke in one game before you literally punch the screen in frustration or just send me angry emails and comments? That's also a solution. Well, it's not really a solution. I'm still gonna make terrible jokes, but if it makes you feel better, you can send me angry comments. As up in the top lane, Ragnarok has roamed up here for the gank along with Mr. Trollmaster. The bandage toss flies out. It does indeed connect onto the Nautilus, but he does not have any more CC to hold him still, and Nautilus is a slippery fellow of his own. He tosses the anchor at the wall, pulls himself over there, but he's going down pretty low, turns around the depth charge onto Ragnarok, stopping him from diving under the tower, or perhaps not. Amumu going to be taking up the tower as he goes into the bandage toss, and then the damage is going to be there in force from the Cassidon. Amumu, though, gets the last little tick of damage with his salty tears, bringing down the Nautilus. Successful tower dive up in the top lane. Meanwhile, we return back to bottom lane, where Lee Sin's looking to pull off a gank of his own. However, he was spotted out by a ward, it seems. Yes, the pink ward farther up the river, as well as the stealth ward right next to the corner of the Dragon Pit. Did catch him out as Colombian Viking is caught out on his own. The bola is very nicely blocked by a wind wall, but it's not really going to matter. He goes down to Rengar in the end anyways, as Harry Dude is trying to get in on the floating frog. However, his AD carry is getting burned down very swiftly. Culling coming back from a distance to provide some damage assistance while he can, as Sarius is now coming in, and the Kenny is going to be going down very soon. There's Kraim. He's on a rampage. His floating frog is going to be falling over as well. Lucian picking that up, and the timely arrival of a blind monk saves the life of Thresh and Lucian. Too bad they couldn't save the one. Anyways, Dragon is going to be going down, so actually maybe not. There's the Q, but the E is dodged out by a very nice relentless pursuit, taking Sarius to safety as Ragnarok. Going to be going over the wall there, looking to get this kill. Still, he really wants it. Doesn't have the Q, but the Dark Passage shield going to be enough to keep this Lucian alive as Khazadin eventually does fall over. Actually, Lucian being the one to pick that one up puts him at 2, 1, and 3. But Dragon is no longer in their sights. They're a little bit too low on the good old hit points to go for that. This might actually be an opening for Blue Team if they can get their Amumu over there in time, and if they even realize that this is indeed an opening. Nautilus pushing up the top lane, and he does have that going for him. A AP not what? He has a recurve bow. Well, he at least has one AP item, so I'm going to be calling him an AP Nautilus for now. I'm really not sure where he's going with recurve bow. I suppose that could be a wit's end. I would love it to be a wit's end. Attack speed on Nautilus is hilarious to watch. It just looks so silly when he tosses around an anchor at insane speeds. Deserve now going in, landing the snare onto this Nautilus, but he turns around and he's got tankiness and he's got damage, and he's doing the damage while keeping his tankiness going. Deserve does use his W to gain back some of his hit points, uses it again for some more resistances, but Colombian Viking has grown from the middle lane and he does a lot more damage than this Nautilus. It is no longer a slow fight, it is a quick one. Rengar falls over. We're back down to the bottom lane again. And we've had so much action. I have yet to go into very many of the builds aside from the Nautilus top one. A little bit strange, but we do have some other items formulating across the board. It wouldn't be a very reasonable or realistic game if we didn't. We've got a Mumu going to the Spirit of the Spectral Rage, which is unsurprising, but other than that, it looks like he's going into tanky items. And actually, speaking of the Mumu, there's the Banish Dog landing on the Nautilus. Nautilus flashing on the wall of the Ignite in the Rift Walk, going to be finishing him off. And now Colombian Viking is dashing in onto Ragnarok, trying to get something while he's a little bit caught out. The knockup lands, and then the Q from the Lee Sin lands as well. And this Lee Sin seems to be in the right place at the right time to save his friends every time. Yes, we're going to be able to escape from a nicely placed Dragon's Rage coming out from Kraim. He lands the Q, actually. He's going to follow this up. He goes over 2 walls to chase after Mr. Trollmaster. He has a red buff to slow him up. And Trollmaster has no friends nearby. If Lee Sin can continue to chase this as Colombian Viking, you keep getting yourself in trouble. There's the bolus landing. Deserves. He's going to be getting that kill. The knife going into his back to bring him down. And now the Kenny might be in a bit of trouble. His friendly AD carry just fell over, and he does not have very much damage. He's very tanky. It takes a while for him to go down, especially if Lucian continues to auto-attack minions like that. So yeah, the Leona does manage to escape because Lucian kind of right-clicked a little bit incorrectly, but I believe even if he hadn't done that, very well might have been Lucian escaping easily there. Now, Nautilus teleporting to the top lane, does not want to give them a moment's rest from his push. Khazadin trying to kill... I don't think he even knew that Lee Sin was in that bush. He was just jumping in onto the Nautilus. He didn't even know that Lee Sin was in the bush on low health. But Nautilus is getting burned down. He's going to fall over. He's going to give the kill up over to Khazadin. 4, 4, and 3 for this Khazadin is a decent creep score, but he's fallen a bit behind from the Yasuo earlier on. He was dead even with the guy, but now he's 40 or so behind, which is quite a lead. Still, not an irreparable one. This Khazadin can certainly be effective in this game, as we have seen on multiple occasions, and his roaming is still deadly because he is, well, Khazadin. But Yasuo's gotten an advantage. It's certainly a objective advantage here. And speaking of objectives, Dragon is up, and none of the teams have yet to make more than a passing play. I would not be surprised to see Purple Team go for it just about now, despite the fact that Blue Team has some good vision around the area. Purple Team really has the control of the map right here, and if they can just get 1 kill on the enemy team or something like that, then they can use that man advantage on the board and sweep themselves into a Dragon pickup. Trollmaster getting hit by the knockup, but Yasuo doesn't really want to follow that up. We're down in the bottom lane once more. Being cleared out. Nice Trollmaster. Down spam his taunts in the middle lane. Moving up to his name a little bit. Windwall comes out for virtually no reason. They're having a taunt war in the middle lane. It is a taunt war for the ages. Oh, the Dragon Pit has become an object of contest. The pink ward's getting cleared out by Lee Sin there. Oop, dash away from Lucian, and everybody's just kind of inching around each other. Blade of the Ruined King popped onto the Amumu, and the inching has ended. There's the Curse of the South Mummy locking up Yasuo for a little bit as Cassidy finishes him off. Lee Sin, though, turns around and gets the kill on Cassidy. Meanwhile, down in bottom lane, the inching has ended as well. Rengar going to be roaming down there to finish off the kill onto the Lucian as Lee Sin. Hard to say Lucian and Lee Sin right after each other, but Lee Sin does indeed get the double kill onto Amumu as now Kenny is tanky, but Kenny is still way too caught out, even with all those hit points and resistances to survive. Lee Sin is godlike, and the push up the middle lane is probably going to be a result either that or a dragon play. Middle lane has 50 hit points left in that tower though, so maybe, very well, maybe both. I would not be surprised. Speaking of builds, which is what I'm doing now. That was a terrible segue, but speaking of builds, which is what I'm just doing, so now I can say that segue. Rengar has a very strange one. None of the items that he's building into are particularly strange. They're all items that you can see a Rengar pick up. A Blade of the Ruined King, a Brutalizer going into a Yumu's perhaps, and a Spectre's Cowl going into either a Spirit Visage or a Banshee's. Both of those are on Rengar, but having all three of those items and not having completed any of them past 20 minutes, it's a little bit of a recipe for disaster, I would say. That is a strangely aggressive Linkord coming out of the Yasuo. I don't see any way that he can defend that. That's going to be 30 free gold going over to Kassadin. Perhaps it was just a misclick dropping that from his inventory, or perhaps he thought that Rengar was nearby and invisible and wanted to drop it for the purposes of safety. We shall never know because it is now dead. It is now passed into the realm beyond, joined the choir invisible, and kicked the bucket. Up in top lane, we deserve getting assaulted by Nautilus, and meanwhile down in bottom lane we have three members of the blue team going in onto the Lucian and the Thresh. Thresh is caught out of position. Harry Dude probably going to be the one to be engaged upon. Meanwhile up in top lane, the Bowlers is tossed out from Deserve onto Nzoko, and Nzoko turns around to fight this, but it might not have been the best decision. However, he did have backup on its way, and there's the knockup. There is the Yasuo ulti, and Nautilus and Yasuo synergize so very well. Deserve now trying to juke away, but he's being chased out by the Yasuo. He does finally manage to create some distance while invisible, and he gets that speed buff, and he's going to be able to zoom away with that Rengar speed buff that he gets after coming out of his ulti. Pop his W as well for some health, just in case. Then sit in the bush, hide, and go on back home. Colin coming out. Leona face tanking that actually so as to keep her minions alive so that they can go ahead and get this turret, because Leona at this point, with all of that tankiness that she has, can face tank the culling for all that she cares and keep her minions alive. The support supporting more than just the AD carry, she supports even the minions in her lane. That is a true support, my friends. Oh, there we see it. Nautilus has finished off his wit's end. As I don't want to say I anticipated that because it's such a strange thing, but as I guessed might happen from the weaker foe. And Floating Frog, you are caught way out of position, friend. This Lee Sin is legendary. He's going in on Control Master. He wants more. He tosses out the Q. He follows it up. He has a bunch of friends helping him out too. And so this Amumi's health bar is burning down. Lucian finishes that kill off. Dragon's not spawning for a while, so that isn't an option. But they can look to try and make a play onto this Kassadin here. It's a little bit difficult to chase Kassadin down though, and they already had some distance caught between them. So they're instead going to go to this middle lane with the turret, as I said, only has about 50 hit points left. So just a matter of pushing up one minion wave, right-clicking on the turret once, and getting a bunch of golds. So really no reason for them not to do this. It goes down, Yasuo picks that up. Rengar, however, is split pushing the top lane as this goes on. We do have a teleport coming in from Nautilus, though, to stop that from happening as the hook lands onto the Kenny, pulling him back in. Ragnarok turns around, deals some damage himself. And this is kind of a bit of an untenable situation for the Thresh and Yasuo. They should probably get out of there fairly soon. It looks like that is exactly what they're doing. Meanwhile, up in top lane, we have Yoko and Deserve going at it again. They would love to pummel it out with one another. Ooh, the ulti coming out of Floating Frog, landing on the Colombian Viking. They are focusing down that Yasuo. He goes down very swiftly. Does a lot of damage, but he doesn't have very many hit points himself. He can dish it out, but he can't really take it. Q landing on to Leona, not really the target they were looking for. I don't really know that they were looking for very many targets there in the first place. That's 4v2, generally not a good thing to engage upon. Middle lane getting pushed up, that makes passive creeps and deals some good damage himself. And because there's been so much action this game, I haven't really had a chance to go into comps and, well, things of that nature, things that aren't immediate action. Speaking of which, Ragnarok going in with his ulti as Leona ult is burnt as well. Very nice Dragon's Rage, going to be doing a lot of disruption to the enemy team, but it's not going to be quite enough. Shutdown gold going over to Amumu as up in the top lane in another incredibly close duel. Nautilus finishes off Rengar and this time does not fall over to Kit Kat. Colombian Viking here to try and clean up, looking to dash around and make some fancy plays, but everybody's a little bit too far gone. He's late to the party. He's not here to do that, and I can finally talk about comps. Alright, well, on the side of blue team, something that I notice is that we do not have a lot of mobility. Not a lot of pure mobility, really. I mean, we have Kassadin, who's like the king of mobility, and then the rest of his team is pretty meh, aside from Rengar, who can kind of leap once unless you're around a lot of bushes. Varus and Leona are a fairly immobile lane. Leona can jump in onto other people, but she has no escapes. Varus just doesn't have escapes at all, and Amumu can do the same thing that Leona can do, jump in onto other people. This means that they are a fairly aggressive team. They don't really have any way of falling back once they engage a team fight. They're very, very bad at disengage. However, if they engage a proper team fight, they can crush. They've got Amumu and Leona. That combo alone is amazingly powerful, but once you add a Varus Tendrils of Corruption into the mix, if you fire it, say, after the Curse of the Sad Mummy, but before the Solar Flare, or basically in the middle of the other two spells, then it has a lot of time to spread the enemy team and hold them all there. As Ragnarok is burning, he does have his Zonias, though, and he manages to not survive. He falls over in the end. Mr. Trollmaster now the one in trouble, forced to flash over the wall as well as Rengar is coming through in his ult. Doesn't have anybody to leap to, though, just tosses the bolas over the wall for good measure. That is a 1-for-0 trade, and they got a flash as well. Yasuo lost a bunch of his health there, but that is a perfectly reasonable thing to do when you're in a situation like that. Is now Kenny is caught a little bit out of position here. Turns around, tries to stun up Cyrus, wait for his team. There is the Solar Flare, buying some time for his team to show up, but they're a little bit too careful. They're not coming in here, and when they finally do, Trollmaster falls over and Deserve can't finish off any kills. He tosses out the bullets, but he doesn't land onto the right target. As now Nautilus is here, Death Charge coming out onto the Rengar and knocking him up. He's going to be going down as well, and they're going to push onto the secondary turret in the bottom lane. No problem. We should look at some of the builds, you know? That's a pretty interesting thing to look at. Those are always nice. Leona and Thresh supports. Now, support's build is often not quite as developed as builds for other champions, since they simply do not get as much gold, but they are still interesting builds nonetheless. We have a fairly, I don't want to say selfish build coming out of Leona, but ooh, there's the hook landing on Leona, and this is truly a death sentence. Nautilus gonna pick that one up, allowing him to continue building whatever it is he's doing with that inventory. Is that a Rylai's? Is that Rylai's Crystal Scepter? I think that's a Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Okay. Nautilus is doing strange things that I would not recommend, but it seems to be working, and he's certainly doing well against this Varus, bringing him down pretty quickly. As he does manage to escape a bit, the piercing arrow coming out across a few members of the enemy team, and there's the bandage touch, just tickling the backside of Lucian. I really thought that was going to connect. I got all excited. Turning around on Mr. Trollmaster, doing some damage, not much, so there's the Q from Lee Sin, and he follows it up to get the instant kill onto the Varus as across the wall, gets some good damage onto Lucy, manages to ult away, but Lee Sin follows him, flying for miles to catch up to him. However, he does ult over the wall. Those really low cooldown ultimates can get him quite a distance. Oh, Rengar leaping out of invisibility to jump onto the Thresh, but he flashes over the wall just in time to keep himself alive. And just Colombian Viking coming in from the bushes and getting burned down pretty swiftly, though. He's kind of all on 1v2 finally, and Zoko shows up, as does Crane. They're trying to do as much as they can, and they certainly have this one in the bag. The cat is in the bag, my friends. Rengar falls over. Leona follows suit shortly thereafter. That was a very messy fight for both sides. That was just, there were flashes, there was a ton of random wall hopping, and it was spread out all over the place. Nobody got their combos off quite as they liked. However, Floating Frog is going down pretty low here. Finally, and Zoko brings him over. He's on a rampage as now Mr. Trollmaster is just completely ignoring this Nautilus. Finally turns around to, oh, actually he doesn't bring him down. There's Cassidy chasing after him. The Null Sphere kind of finish off that job. Shutdown gold actually going over to Cassidy. That was a killing spree that our AP attack speed bruiser Nautilus top was on. I don't think I'll ever get the chance to say that again, at least not anytime soon, and I'm sorry if you can hear that loud and irritating noise in the background. I live right near a train station, and the sound can sometimes carry into the room even if I close the window, which I do before shoutcasting. So if you heard that, I apologize. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a bother. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. I'm not entirely sure of the train schedule today, so maybe we'll get another 3 visits from the large rolling steel wheels, or maybe that is the last of it. I'm not sure. We should go into some of the builds, though, while we have the opportunity to do so. Lucian has finished off a Maw of Malmortius, which I find a little bit strange. There's actually a fairly good mixture of damage on the enemy team, though. That does mean that there's a fairly good amount of magic damage on the enemy team, since it's a mixture. So having the Maw of Malmortius is really going to protect him against the Cassidin, who has been doing decently, as well as against the Amumu's AoE damage, and of course the AoE damage from Varus as well is magic. The Tendrils of Corruption, as well as the chunking percentage health damage, is magical as well. Varus actually does a decent amount of magic damage for an AD carry. Up in top lane, Cream trying to get in onto Deserve, but he gets into his ulti before they have a chance to bring him down. He's actually moderately tanky now with the Ninja Tabby and the Spectre's Cowl under his belt. And he's built another part of an item. He has Sheen. He's finished a single item. We're 31 minutes into this game, and this Rengar has 1 full item under his belt. And Cream, look where you're going, man! There's a cat in that bush! Flame Frog getting knocked up and instantly taken out by the follow-up from Yasuo as the Solar Flare comes down onto 2 members of the enemy team. The Might of the Sun stops them in their tracks, but not before they can finish off. Oh, Ragnarok coming over the wall. This is a little bit brave. Goes into the Zonius, becomes invulnerable as the turret falls, and he shifts back over the wall as soon as the Zonius ends. The culling comes out, tickles him on the tail, but he does manage to get some distance and manages to get away with barely any health. Lightning now Cyrus is going in on Mr. Trollmaster. The knockup lands onto Amumu and over the wall onto Leona, slowing her up, as well as the hook lands. And this Cassidin has just sacrificed most of his team so that he can escape. And he does, in the end, manage to escape, and they're going to go after this inhibitor turret and bring that down as well. It started to look pretty bad for Blue Team a little while ago, but this is getting to the point where it's looking very bad for Blue Team. They might not have a way out of this hole unless they can pull off something fairly miraculous. Meanwhile, he's walking out the miss here. Now the Cassidin is still Rift walking in to do some good damage to the Colombian Viking. The Ignite is ticking, but it's not going to be enough to bring him down. However, he flashes and then ults forward, but the heal from Lucian and the shield from Thresh keeps Colombian Viking alive. Beautiful bait from Purple Team. Now the minions are going to be swarming up, and they're going to be taking those down fairly quickly. They're going to be pushing in here, and they've already got the inhibitor, so I'm a little bit unsure why they're pushing on bottom lane. There's the ulti coming from Varus, actually, and he's wandering in to try and finish off the kill, but so many people have gone after this Yasuo, and no one is able to bring him down. Varus falls for his troubles as well as the hook lands onto Kenny. The box as well finishes him off, as now here comes Rengar, and nobody can finish off the Yasuo. The ult comes out as Rengar flashes away. Double kill for Thresh. This is the support of the year right here, taking all the kills. And now we're going after the Nexus turrets. I guess this was their aim when they were pushing up the bottom lane. There's the first one going to be falling. They might go for the second one as well. Actually, no, they're going to be backing away here. They don't have a minion wave with them, so they don't want to tank up that second turret while the members of the enemy team revive and give them a chance to bring them down and get a lead back in the game. They Deserve coming up and fighting the Nautilus next to a bunch of minions, though, and Nautilus is no longer somebody that he can play 1v1 with as he was earlier on. Nautilus only goes to half health, whereas Deserve goes to, well, none health. Zero is that. Colombian Viking and Lucian, pushing up the middle lane, taking that down as swiftly as you like. Ragnarok comes in, but he gets wind walled, and Colombian Viking dashes through him as Lucian finishes off the tower and nicely sidesteps the Zenith Blade. They get out scot-free after doing a little bit of demolition work. Nautilus is roam from top lane, and trying to make something happen in the middle lane. Here we go for another inhibitor. Would be certainly nice for Purple Team to have. I wouldn't say no to that. I always like to take inhibitors whenever I can. Ooh, the Bandage Dust does land on the Cream. There's the Sad Mummy as well. The damage from Kenny, but the Maw of Malmortius is keeping this Lee Sin alive. It is paying dividends right now. Flashes away from the damage from Ragnarok. The Q lands, but it is enough damage after the Rift Walk brings him down. Now we have a Zoni's Hourglass. There's a golden Cassidin right there, and he ults away to try and escape, but ults right into Sirius 17. He is unstoppable as Deserve teleports in, but Deserve is very squishy, and he goes down. Lucian finishing off that kill as the knockup from Yasuo holds Leona in place long enough to get her burned down. And that is a 3-4-1 trade. for Purple Team to take. I'm going to push him in the middle lane with that. Got a small wave of minions with him. The unsung true heroes of Summoner's Rift, those endlessly spawning and endlessly fighting and endlessly dying minions. Show in every single game for battle. They know not any state other than the thirst for blood, the thirst for war and the killing of enemies. You think that Scion is the true undead juggernaut of war? No, the minions, they come in their hordes, and they come thirsting and hungry for the blood of foes. Either that or they're just idiots, like lemmings. They just kind of get really angry and attack things that are bad colors. They just really don't like blue or purple, whichever side they're on. Anyways, that's enough useless theorizing about minions. We're going to get back into the action, as is Harry, dude. There's the ball, he's not quite landing on him. He plays back. Both minions on the team who are chasing after him. Now Mr. Trollmaster is getting shot at by Lucy. And meanwhile, in the middle lane, Ragnarok is going down very swiftly. The ulti comes out from Varus, but a lot of his damage is blocked by the wind wall. Flying Frog is truly flying. Colombian Viking brings him down after showing him what it's really like to be up in the air for a while, alongside a sword. Who needs to fall as Kenny goes down as well, and this very well is going to be GG here, unless Purple Team really doesn't want it to be, but I do not see any way in which this game does not end, unless it is purposefully delayed, but is not going to be. They want the victory here, and who can blame them? It's always nice to win. The victory screen going to be going over to Purple Team. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow. Hey there guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, consider leaving a like, or subscribe, or comment. Anything like that, it all really helps me keep going with this, and well, thanks for watching, I suppose. I'll see you all tomorrow.